Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the MICROSAIC Systems pre-annual general meeting Q&A session. We do apologise, as you may have had issues entering the meeting today. The platform is running a little bit slow, so which we do apologise for. Throughout this short Q&A session, attendees will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged, can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Simply click the Q&A and type your question. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company will review all questions submitted today and publish responses where appropriate to do so. I'd also like to remind you that this presentation is being recorded. I would now like to hand you over to Glenn Tracy, CEO, and Bevan Metcalf, CFO of MICROSAIC Systems. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. And sorry, I'm not on your screen today. I'm having access issues. But just a quick introduction for those of you that don't know us. MICROSAIC is changing the dimension in which we see the world through our amazing, powerful, and miniaturized detection technology. This is enabling real-time screening in human and environmental health. What that enables is immediate decision-making, whether dealing with toxic chemicals in our rivers and oceans, or monitoring highly sensitive manufacturing processes for groundbreaking therapies. Regardless, our aim is to make an impact on a global scale, and as the demand for remote connected and real-time monitoring is massively increasing, we are very well placed to ride that wave. We recently pivoted our strategy to build on our products to include more of the workflow to be relevant to end users and their problems. And that means that we have sample extraction and sample handling, separation, the detection itself, all wrapped in software, and we provide a service to the end user. And I just want to say before we get into the Q&A, we are fully funded, we are fully committed, and we are ready to fly. We have an AGM on the 17th of June. Obviously, normally this would be done in person, but due to restrictions, this isn't possible, hence us using this platform. And I'll just hand over to Bevan.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. As Glenn said, this is pre-AGM, the ability for you to ask questions, and we've had some written questions in already. Can I just please ask a favour that after the meeting, shareholders vote for the resolutions? Now, if you've got a form of proxy, please submit that today. If you don't, and you have a nominee company, please give them a call today so that they can take your vote and send it in. It's got to be in by 10 a.m. on the 15th, and we want to give everyone the opportunity to submit those proxies after you've heard the answers to some of your questions and whether you feel the answers are hitting the nail. So without further ado, I'll hand back to Paul to start to go through the 13, I think it is, written questions, and you've got the ability, as Paul said, to ask questions as we move along. Okay, Paul, over to you.
Fantastic. Bevan, thank you very much. Thank you, Glenn. As you say, we did receive a number of pre-submitted questions for this Q&A session. If I can start with the first one, please. Has the marketing agreement with Deep First realised third-party sales?
Okay, so I'll take that one, Paul. I think it's absolutely critical to say the agreement has enabled collaboration and key account discussions with a range of third-party companies in a range of geographic locations. I think when one thinks of sales, perhaps one thinks of sort of onesie-twosie sales, but actually the agreement is focused on chasing those real kind of strategic key account, multiple site installs, turnkey projects, rather than simple one-off sales. So those are in progress, and we'd like to be recording significant achievement in H2.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much indeed there, Glenn. The next question reads as follows. When are we expected to become cash positive from continuing business? And what are your cash requirements, and when do you, if you do, envisage raising more funds?
Bevan here, Paul. I'll handle that. While we don't envisage raising more funds, our business plans show the company becoming cash positive in approximately 2 years' time. This is based on achieving key objectives and milestones, which including the recruitment of key staff, new product launches, and sales channels affected by COVID-19 opening up. We see and hope the restrictions on international travel will cease in the third and fourth quarters, and are looking forward to that and getting back in a face-to-face position with customers.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much indeed, Bevan. Next one reads as follows here. Are new products under development?
Yeah, absolutely they are. Quite a few actually. So some of those products are going to be launching this year, and they are going to be targeted at human and environmental health. And as I mentioned in the introduction, those products are to extend our offering to include sample extraction, sample handling and separation, plus software and service, so that we can broaden our offering, for example, in water analysis and human diagnostics. For those of you that follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn, and indeed read our RNSs, you can see that we are quite rapidly now opening up the kinds of markets that are, well, what I would call real world problems, in human and environmental health, particularly in remote or real-time monitoring, whether that's looking at the toxins in a river, for example, forever chemicals or antibiotics, or indeed migrating into a hospital setting. And you may have seen the RNS we put out last month about our agreement with China. So a rich product portfolio, but we're not sort of navel gazing for years and years in a sort of very long-term R&D project. These products will come to market in relatively quick measure.
Glenn, thank you very much indeed. Next question we've got here is, when will you consolidate your shares to make MICROSAIC more visible to funds?
Good question. The board does not have any immediate plans to consolidate its shares. Such an exercise will incur management time and, as we all know, quite a few legal fees. I suppose our focus, and especially since the fundraise, has been about achieving key operational milestones, growing the business, and pivoting our strategy. My own view is that funds don't invest in a company just based on its share price. It's more around the fundamentals of the company and its growth prospects. It's true that many funds don't invest in SMEs like MICROSAIC, but a share consolidation will not change the market cap of MICROSAIC.
That's great. Thank you, Bevan. Okay, is there any restriction on the MICROSAIC board from selling shares?
There's no restriction on the board selling shares, Paul. The directors have no intention of selling their shares in the company. And Glenn and I have been with the company over 5 years, and we're still holding the shares that we've bought many years ago, as we believe in the future of the company.
That's great. Thank you very much indeed. How long is your sales cycle for each of your main product lines?
Yeah, it depends. It could be quick or it could be very long. But I think the key thing is our strategy since we pivoted with Jerry coming on board is to reduce the reliance on capital, long-term capital purchases, which tend to be elongated, for certain markets where funding needs securing, such as academia. And we're looking to change that model, if you've seen my previous presentations, to a much more annuity or recurring based model, very much focused on software. Although there will be innovative hardware and detection below that, we are we are selling a solution to a problem, and that kind of sales model is very, very different.
That's great, thank you. Again, just really sort of touching on products again, which products are your highest volume and margin opportunities?
So the biggest potential in the short term is definitely the provision of water safety equipment and service that goes along with that. And really, as a result of our product developments, which I spoke to you about, which are due very shortly, plus the channel provided by Modern Water, I'm really very confident we're going to make a very big impact with these products. And in fact, they augment the Modern Water offering, delightfully. The overlap between the two companies is just fantastic. The range of things we can monitor in rivers and oceans, so on and so forth, is truly fantastic. And of course, DeepVerge brings the AI. But thinking longer term, but not too long, we see massive potential in human diagnostics. And as I just mentioned, we've got to head the terms, which we're working hard to convert into an agreement in the next few weeks with our Chinese partner to commercialize. This is a real fantastic opportunity to put our instruments into the many hospitals in China, next to the beds of patients, and we'll be looking at applications in companion diagnostics. And the interesting thing with this agreement is there's revenue sharing on end user reagents and services. So really very much looking forward to bringing you more news on that.
That's great. Thank you very much indeed, Glenn. Can you describe how you plan to work with third-party channels to increase sales?
I think it might sound a brief answer, but I think in simple terms, just by being relevant to them and their problem. That's why our product development and our whole strategy is pivoted towards providing a complete workflow. If you talk about science and detection and so on and so forth, so what, although that is important at a certain level, you've got to be able to provide the whole, the meal deal, the software, the service, and the expertise. It also means focusing on key markets and building up a significant breadth of applications in those markets, which we are. So, for example, in water safety, we're leading with forever chemicals, PFAS chemicals, which I spoke to you about a couple of weeks ago. But, we're going to bring to that also APIs, active pharmaceutical ingredients in water, their metabolites, pesticides, herbicides in water, and also sort of hormonal chemicals. So, a massive range of chemical reach. But the key thing is that you can talk to your end users, such as water companies or agencies, in their language and provide a service and solution that actually makes a difference to them.
That's great. Thank you again, Glenn. A quick question here just on geographics. Which countries are most important for fast growth and why?
So, I think each territory and country has their own merit. So focusing on one, I don't think would be right. And, what we're doing with MICROSAIC and DeepVerge is focusing on trends that are truly global. So it's very difficult to separate, say, the trend of water pollution and monitoring from various countries, because actually we're all suffering from the same problem. And actually, most countries are looking for similar or same solutions. So, we're not singling one out. So, as I say, these real world problems are the safety and quality of our rivers, our oceans, our soils, and also helping farmers make novel therapeutics for disease. So, I can't think of any one country or territory that wants to go about it a different way. So, we're really serving all of them.
Great stuff. Probably a bit more one for you, Bevan, actually. What is your anticipated recurring revenue stream per annum?
Well, historically, MICROSAIC's recurring revenue stream has been limited to spares and consumables, with the focus more on the capital equipment sale. And as Glenn has said a couple of times already in this presentation, the new strategy is more about a fundamental shift in our business model, away from the capital equipment sale to more reoccurring revenues becoming important in the future, and particularly through the partnership developing with ThirdParty. So the company is transitioning to a more annuity model and providing integrated solutions for our partners. And as Glenn said, is supported by artificial intelligence driven data analytics, which will provide additional ongoing revenue streams in the future.
That's great. Thank you, Bevan. Potential pre-submitted question we have here is, I understand you're waiting medical license approval in China in 2022. I can't recall if this was mentioned at the recent investor presentation, but are you seeking similar licenses in the UK and Europe? If you can't answer, is that the broad plan longer term?
Yeah, absolutely it is, without a doubt. You know, the license we're going for in China is to do with companion diagnostics, and you know, medical licenses are very specific and very different. And certainly in China, we'd like to expand that to cover other application areas, and we are having discussions with relevant third parties, collaborators out there. But we do see some very compelling opportunities in the more traditional markets in North America and Europe, should we say. So absolutely, that is the plan.
That's great. Thank you, Glenn. Final one we have here, the pre-submitted questions. Months ago, you were looking to sell the company, and now you're not. What's changed, and what is the source of optimism?
Well, first, let me say that you know, the board has always believed that MICROSAIC's technology was a game changer. Yes, we are very optimistic, but that's based on solid fundamentals. For example, we're fully capitalized now. We've pivoted the strategy and are more focused on delivering customer solutions rather than just selling equipment. Revenues in Q1 were 120% up last year. Although we appreciate the quantums last year were very low. We have signed an exciting agreement with ThirdParty, which expands our sales channels and also provides numerous areas for collaboration. We've also recruited 5 people over the last 3 months in marketing and R&D, have announced in May the heads of terms on the MS technology at point of care for the Chinese market, as Glenn just explained. So I'd say we are confident, we are optimistic, but we are ticking the boxes on those key milestones, which I mentioned earlier, are a key part of us becoming cash positive in 2 years' time.
That's great. Thank you very much indeed. That concludes the pre-submitted questions. We have had several questions come through. Perhaps, Bevan, if I could just ask you to click on that Q&A tab just on the right of the screen there, and you'll just see those. And if I may, if I can just ask you to read out those questions where appropriate to do so and just give your response, that'd be fantastic.
Okay. Dale H says, where do you see the market cap in 3 years' time? Well, if only I had a crystal ball. Clearly, our market cap is around 14 million. We're pleased with the progress since the capitalization was fully implemented, and I think the future, especially once we get to being cash positive and beyond, is very exciting. So I'll leave that up to you know, our shareholders and investors to determine where they're going to see the market cap, but significantly higher than where it is at the moment. Yeah, no, you know, obviously I'll just add that you know, I think it's a mix of two things, right? You know, so there's you know, got to temper my words
as there's significant potential. We're looking at markets that really are, you may have seen a tweet that we put out on the G7 meeting. The collaboration between DeepVerge and MICROSAIC are hitting each one of those subject areas in terms of disease, monitoring, water safety, digital. So there's not one of those areas that we either both or one of us aren't in. And then, as Bevan said, quite rightly, we're very, very focused on hitting tangible milestones. So the fundamentals. So, you have the potential and the fundamentals. And, I'd like to see that market cap be significantly more in the future.
There was another question on the market cap from Andrew T. So I'll just deal with that at the same time. It says, why do you feel the market cap remains frozen at 15 million? That's the first part of the question. Well, if I'm honest, we go back to January and our market cap was less than £1 million. We did the capitalization, raising 5.5 million. And on that day, our market cap was, 14, 15. It's been up and down, but it's been quite consistent. And I think consistency is good. Obviously, the market is waiting to hear more news. We're only 4 months since the fundraising. We'd like to see the market cap obviously go up, but it doesn't drive what we do on the ground in the business. The market cap is what the market cap is. If shareholders don't sell shares, then and they're harder to buy, it's going to go up. But that's what a market-driven company is all about. Says, why is the medium-term business plan message not reaching the wider audience? It's important that company delivers fundamentals rather than just tweets and LinkedIn posts. Well, look, I mentioned some of the fundamentals today, and that's not obviously as a company listed. We have to be careful about what we disclose, especially if it's price sensitive. But recruiting key people, as I said, showing that we're back on track with our sales. These things have come through as well. So I'd like to say we are delivering, but it's early days, and we looking forward to the second half of this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I would add is, we're not just tweeting and posting things on LinkedIn. I mean, we are. The other side of the argument is, what can you give us context? What does it mean? What does water testing mean? What's a PFAS? What's diagnostics? So what we're absolutely attempting to do here is, give the context to shareholders and indeed partners, because it's not just shareholders, of course, that read those tweets and post on LinkedIn. Also, we are engaging with shareholders much more than we ever have through this platform. And once again, apologies you can't see me today. Hopefully next time it will work. But we'll be doing this a lot more. We have news in the pipeline in a range of different areas. So yeah, it's the getting news out there isn't always RNS and to drive share prices. To set the context, it's to allow people to talk to management. It's an understanding of our products and our markets.
There's a couple of questions, one from Mark P and one from PD, both in relation to worries around IP or protection of IP as we move into China. I know China, if you're reading things, can have that reputation, but I think first and most important is you're working with key partners there that you trust and you can work with. The second thing is we do have protection with our patents. I'd say third is that our products, of which we've sold over 170 units, have been in the marketplace, albeit not potentially, well, they have been for about 18 months in China, but longer term, obviously, 20 years they've been in other jurisdictions. It's not that easy to take apart our mass spec and copy it. So in the manufacturing process as well, there's also not IP, but there's a method and of pulling the equipment together, which in itself, does create a barrier to people just copying it. So we are aware of that. I would say 4 or 5 years ago, we would actively avoid going into certain markets, but I think the reality is now that work with partners you trust, and make sure that you obviously have visibility on any IP infringements. Let me just have a look down. I did note there was one interesting one from, I'm just trying to find it now, but someone was saying we talk like politicians. I'm not sure that that's definitely not a compliment, but I see where you're coming from. Look, if we, and we're not particularly answering some of the questions. Look, for us, clearly the biggest markets are the US, Europe, and Southeast Asia. We have partners in those markets, but we certainly have the ability to grow our partnerships and to really progress in those key markets. But you've got to focus. We're a small company. That's why we're focusing, for example, on expanding in China with our first diagnostic product in human health. So again, sorry, we'll try and be a little less political. But anyway, that's the answer. Is the former ballpark timescales would surely not conflict with any non-disclosure agreements. Again, we have confidentiality agreements clearly with our partners, and must ensure that we maintain those. Paul C, as a percentage, how dependent are you on deep verge sales? Well, again, we see that as a great opportunity. One of the challenges as a small company we've always faced is to being able to successfully commercialize our great technology, and through deep verge, we are going to be able to access a number of markets. So again, we see it as a real opportunity. But it is early days, so we'll just have to see how that evolves and the collaborations evolve. It says, can you mention some of the institutional funds that have brought into the company recently? Yes, well, as you mentioned, we've got Unicorn, which is a VCT investor. That question actually was by Yusuf. Sorry, it was by Chris M. So Chris, yes, Helium is another one. They are committed, but clearly what we feel now compared with before the fundraise is we've got a much better balance to our share register. It was very institutionally driven, with probably five key institutional investors contributing to over 70% of our shares. We didn't have the share movement in the market because they were obviously holding on to their shares, which is great. But now, there's much more liquidity because we've got high net worth individuals which came in. We have some funds again. They seem very committed, but we have to deliver, and that's key. Paul C, is the UK government showing interest in your solutions? Again, this is something that we're being more proactive about, and also through some of the contacts that Deep Verge has, especially in water.
Yeah, I mean, I think going back to the point, sometimes we can answer the question. The honest answer to that is no, we can't answer the question. But yeah, absolutely. it's no surprise, as I mentioned. The G7 summit, there are several key themes in there that resonate extremely well with Deep Verge and MICROSAIC. Next question.
Yeah, Yusuf said, how many people do you have selling? We're a small company. We use our partners, distributors, original equipment manufacturers, we call them as well. We have taken on board recently and 2 application development individuals, and although selling is not their main thing, they will be managing any opportunities that come along. So it's really through partnerships. Glenn, do you want to add something?
So I think I think the answer is that if you look at the number of partners we have, which is around 10. Each one of those have their own salespeople. So you're looking at well over sort of 50 to 100 actually who are selling our product. We don't have direct salespeople ourselves. Plus, you also add on the channel that Modern Water have, and that significantly increases the number of sales. I think, though, as I said right at the start, the key thing with as we start to increase our offering to be more service and solutions oriented, this is more about business development than sort of face-to-face selling, if that makes sense. So business development is much more focused on multiple installs and long-term key account sales.
Yusuf H, hi Yusuf, it's just can you say again, what are your expectations in your business plan for recurring revenues versus one-off as an overall percentage? Look, Yusuf, our business plan is currently evolving because of the new strategy. The business plan we started off with, at the time of the fundraising without pivoting the strategy, was showing about 10% per year coming from consumables, spares and service fee income. But as we've mentioned today, with artificial intelligence, etc., and that is not being delivered yet, that's clearly a collaboration we're going to be working on, is that it'll be significantly higher than that percentage. But I can't give you actual percentages. I think so I think maybe we've got time for one more question before we wind up. Just having a look down if there's someone we haven't. No, I think I can't really comment on any contracts that have mentioned. So I think we'll wind up there. Sorry if your particular question wasn't addressed. We obviously have some difficulties with Glenn not being able to see the questions today, so he's coming in on the back of questions I've answered. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for attending and making the time. Again, just a reminder, please do vote. It's your way to say you support or don't support the company, and we'd like you to support the company. So, Glenn, winding up.
Thank you all for attending again. It's really great to have you. Great to have you on board, and please do keep reading our communications, whether they're RNSs, reaches, tweets, or LinkedIn. So you'll get a very good appreciation of where we're heading. I'm personally very excited about where we are heading. We are attacking those real sort of timely markets in monitoring of pollutants in water streams. We're in human health, in diagnostics. So yes, a very, very interesting second half. And once again, thanks for attending.
Yeah, thank you from me as well.
That's great. Glenn, Bevan, thank you very much indeed. And thank you for addressing the questions you can from attendees. And of course, you will have the ability to review any further questions submitted today, and we'll publish responses where appropriate to do so on the Investor Meet Company platform. Glenn, Bevan, thank you for answering the questions. We do apologise if any of you did experience a delay in getting into the meeting this morning. Could I please ask attendees not to close the session, as you will now automatically be redirected for the opportunity to provide your feedback in order that the management team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few minutes and greatly valued by the company, so please do give it your attention. On behalf of the management team of MICROSAIC Systems PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation. Thank you and good morning.